Leland, aka Jake the Flake, aka Jake from State Farm, is seeing a therapist.
It's not part of the plan. Or has that changed?
Oh! What the plan? What is that? It's a goat. It's a goat. It's a goat man. It's like something wandered into the evil universe from Narnia. Oh my gosh, you've got to be kidding me. Alright, I'm gonna stop with the silly puns. He's the devil. It's a devil goat. It's a demon goat. It's a devil. Who listens to advice from a demon goat man? They're gonna find someone to take Kristen's heart out, and the two of them are going to eat it.
Why do people make fun of marching bands?
What's up, everybody, and welcome to my episode 12 recap for Evil. All right, so we're going to go back to the beginning of this episode, and we will lead up to the ending of what we just saw, because I still don't know what I just saw, but let's go back. The episode starts off in a comedy club. It's actually a music venue. I guess they do comedy here, too. I believe this is in a place called Union Pool in Brooklyn. I've actually been there to see a couple of musicians that I'm friends with play. So I recognize this club right away, which I thought was pretty cool. The stand-up is doing some kind of ethnic humor and how his life is different from American culture. Nothing offensive or cutting edge. However, it is pretty noticeable that he's talking with an accent. So he's approached by this attractive woman after his set at the bar, and she tells him she really enjoyed his set. When he replies to her, it's noticeable that he does not have an accent. He says it's all part of his act. So this is Sonia, and they end up going back to her place, which is noticeably a nice place. When the comedian takes his coat off, a gun falls to the ground, and Sonia seems alarmed about that, naturally. He claims to only carry it because he's been jumped a few times going home. Sonia doesn't like guns, so our comedian friend puts the gun back in his jacket and puts the jacket on a hook on the wall far away from them. It turns out that Sonia has actually been following his career for quite a while. Sonia demonstrates this old dancing joke that he used to make about cockroaches. Suddenly, he wants to know who she is. This prompts him to get up and attempt to leave, so Sonia grabs a bottle of scotch and batters him over the head with it. Back at Kristen's home office, she gets a call from the DA saying she needs to get over there right away. And we see our good friend Orson, yes, Leroux, from the very first episode. Remember, she put Orson away, and it looks like they might be letting him out. Before she leaves, she hears this weird chanting coming from outside. It turns out to be Andy. He is meditating and chanting a Buddhist prayer. Andy claims he's just experimenting. Kristen mentions that he had said something in passing, kind of criticizing her for the Catholic thing, and it seems like kind of a double standard. Meanwhile, Ben drops off David to answer a call from someone that claims they need some spiritual advice. And who is it? Well, it's Sonia. This is not going to go well. Back at the courthouse, we have Dwight testifying. Now, you might remember Dwight. He's the one they arrested for murdering several innocent children. Now, Dwight actually confessed to the murder of 3 children, Hispanic children. However, something new arises. 2 weeks after confessing to the murders of the children, he confessed to murdering the families that Orson has been convicted of murdering, which makes no sense. However, there is a link here. Both are believed to probably be communicating with Leland through 4chan. So something isn't right. Dwight testifies that he would go to Orson's real estate showings where he scouted out these families, and then he would go in and hide and then kill them all. Kristen's not buying it. As you can see, Leland is also in the courtroom and seems pretty happy about what's going down. Kristen storms out of the courtroom where she pulls Mira aside and says there is no way that Dwight committed these murders. Mira claims their forensic psychologist says there is a similar pattern in these murders. Now, we all know their forensic psychologist is Leland. Clearly, Orson did kill those families, and he probably will kill again if he's released. Back at Sonia's house, Sonia tells David that she's been hearing some type of voice that's telling her to kill people. Obviously, if you're hearing a voice that's telling you to kill, it's not God's voice. When Sonia gets up to get her tea kettle, David notices there are blood spots on the floor. He follows the trail of blood. Guess who's down in the basement? It's a comedian. She has him bound and gagged. So then she clocks David over the head with the pan, and, well, down the steps he goes, which is not good because he literally just got out of the hospital. What the hell? And what's happening here? Well, Laura, Kristen's daughter, had some lab work come back that has her doctor's concern. The doctor calls Andy and tells him he should bring Laura in immediately. They need to do a couple tests and see if she needs to get a procedure done. Andy tries to get a hold of Kristen, but he's unable to reach her because she's in court. We then see him sit down on his bedroom floor where he does more of this chanting meditation. Back at the courthouse, Mira is being questioned, and this evidence is trophies that Dwight claims he kept of his victim. A knife, a pacemaker, a finger. These are all victims that Orson was convicted of killing. Back at Sonia's house, she's now holding David and the comedian hostage in her basement. It looks like David might have broken a few more bones, including his ankle, which is swollen up, so he probably can't run away. Sonia comes down and tells David she's sorry, but she can't let him go and she has to do what she has to do. And as you can see, she has the comedian bound and gagged. So she plays for him a very disturbing old radio clip from 1994. You hear Ace of Base playing, and then it goes from the song into some type of radio show with a voice that sounds a lot like the comedian here. In 1994, there was a genocide that took place in Rwanda where Hutus had militias that killed over 800,000 Tutsis. Many of the Hutu militias escaped with the refugees and were never held accountable for the crimes and murders they committed. And then you hear the two radio DJs laughing about it, making jokes about it. The comedian claims this was not him. He worked at the radio station, but that was not his voice on the radio show that we heard making these jokes. Sonia insists that that was his voice and that this radio show happened 3 days before the genocide began. And she has a machete, which I discovered upon my research was used by the militias to slaughter hundreds and thousands of innocent people. Sonia claims that this comedian was a radio DJ that encouraged the Hutus to break into the streets and slaughter the Tutsis. And according to her, this broadcast went on for 100 days. The comedian adamantly denies this is his voice, but when Sonia plays a little bit more of the broadcast, it gets more and more vile. A lot of jokes being made about killing innocent people. David tells Sonia the voice that she's hearing is the voice of revenge, not God. And then we hear this type of like muffled voice coming from the walls, and there's a hole in the wall, and these whispers coming from the vent. And then she cuts off his ear. Ow. And things aren't looking very good for David. He was just tortured by a crazy racist nurse, and now he's stuck in the basement with this woman that probably lost a lot of family members that survived a genocide and now wants revenge on someone that potentially perpetuated it, and he's stuck in the middle of all this. Back at the courthouse, after the DA implies the reason why Mira is pushing these murders to be all on Dwight is because she is actually writing a book about Dwight. And that was probably inside information that Kristen had as a friend of Mira's. Back at the hospital, the doctor informs Andy that it's very urgent that they get Laura into surgery for the procedure they need to do to repair her heart valve. Andy tries to call Kristen again and once again gets her voicemail. Back at Sonia's basement, she is repairing her victim's ear now. It appears he survived. It's apparent she's probably going to cut him up into pieces to get vengeance. While Sonia goes upstairs, David finds a vent in the basement that he's able to open up and start screaming through. It's a very long vent, but if you look at the end of the vent, it does go out onto the street. This is really hard to watch. After watching David get trapped and tortured by this nurse in the last episode, to see David in a similar predicament again, it's frustrating because David doesn't deserve this. This is just crazy. Back at the courthouse, Kristen is testifying about her encounter with Orson in the interrogation room when he leapt across the table and tried to strangle her. Back at Sonia's basement, it appears some dog has heard their cries. Meanwhile, inside the basement, David urges the comedian to tell her the truth. The comedian keeps insisting that he is not a soldier, he's just a comedian. The dog and the dog's owner has heard their cries. Sonia then comes down and tells David he should not have done that. Then the doorbell rings. In an attempt to cover up the screens, Sonia puts the TV on with some type of horror show. Oh look, and you can put your machete right next to where you put your umbrellas. That's a good place to keep one. So she answers the door, and the woman that heard the screams is there. Oh crap, and the dog knows what's up. Yeah, so this woman with a dog is not buying the horror movie story. So she threatens to call the police. And then we see Sonia grabbing from her machete. Is she going to like kill her right there on the doorstep? Wouldn't people see? This is crazy. Sonia tells the lady that she's a little bit embarrassed because she and her husband are in a little bit of a role play. Bow chicka wow wow type thing. But while she's doing this, she's trying to grab that machete. She's going to chop the woman and her dog. Okay, well, the dog walker bought that story and she goes along her merry way. On her way out, she bumps into Ben because Ben has to come pick up David. So now potentially Ben is in danger. So Ben just barges in completely clueless as to what the hell is going on. I mean, Sonia looks innocent enough. Who would even think that she's holding two men hostage tied up and bound in her basement? And then she goes back for the machete again. But then Ben gets a call from Andy, who is trying to get in touch with Kristen because of what's happening at the hospital with Laura. Laura's going into surgery. While Ben is on the phone, we see Sonia approaching him with the machete behind her back. It's kind of funny when Andy asks Ben if Kristen is with him. Obviously, she's not with Ben because Ben is with David, and Kristen's at court. So Ben says no. It seems like Andy thinks there might be legitimately something going on between Kristen and Ben. So Ben tries to call Kristen, and of course she doesn't answer because I believe she's giving testimony at this moment. And we still have a machete behind Sonia's back. Being that it's such an urgent matter, Ben offers to go down to the courthouse and tell Kristen in person about the procedure, which is happening right now. So it looks like Ben is out of the water on this. Good thing, because she was ready to totally slice him up. Oh, that worked out for Sonia because she doesn't have to kill anyone else. Unfortunately, David and the comedian are still in the basement. And then something weird happens with Kristen's phone. When she goes to turn her phone on, I don't know if you guys noticed, this happens. What is that? Are there puzzle pieces here? What is this? Do you guys know? If you hear clicking, that's my mouth. What is this? What's wrong with her phone and what the heck did that mean? And there it is again. Like, what is that? And then it goes out. Oh, and look who's here, Leland. This moment is one of the best moments of the show. Probably in the series so far. This moment is just beautiful. It is beautiful. It's beautifully played. It's beautifully directed. It's beautifully acted. It is awesome. He rubs it in about her testimony and how she had so many chances to stay out of everything that he's trying to accomplish, but she couldn't help but get involved. But then Kristen cuts him off and tells him that he talks too much. And oh, look, we have the scar from when she cut him. Well, this is going to be a much deeper cut than anything she could possibly do with a knife. She says Jake Perry. Who was Jake Perry? Jake Perry is Leland. Leland is Jake Perry. Jake the Flake. Leland Townsend is an identity that he assumed. Jake is his former life.
You're an insurance adjuster from Des Moines.
Oh!
Is that what the devil does?
Oh, she is in his face. Oh, her face. Oh my God.
Jake the Flake?
Damn, girl. She is obliterating him. Like, there's nothing left. His face, man.
How was playing the tuba in marching band?
He played the tuba. Whoa, I gotta tell you, Kristen has got a mean streak in her. She's just complete and total savage here. When pushed too far, she will destroy you.
You had trouble getting it up, didn't you?
Oh, impotence. Oh no. My evaluation here is Leland is everything that all of his proteges are.
Had a life.
Oh. Oh, he is shaken. Even this woman here is shook. She's like, wow, you just made him like toast. Oh, he looks so defeated. And what's funny is whenever they have some type of confrontation, including when he was at the house and she pulled a knife on him, he looks scared. He is scared of Kristen. I think he sees Kristen as his biggest threat, probably. We see Ben come into the courthouse, catching up with Kristen. Meanwhile, Sonia is threatening to start cutting off limbs, including an arm. Finally, we get a confession from the comedian claiming he was told to say these things. He was an entertainer. He was a comedian. He was told the jokes to say, so that was his job. He never actually took a machete or killed anybody. So he confesses to making these jokes, which were clearly made in poor taste. Now keep in mind, this is 1994, so this was a different time. He claims the reason why he targeted Tutsis for his comedy and ridicule is because they were in positions of power. They were wealthy. He argues making jokes about people in higher positions and positions of power and positions of wealth doesn't make you a killer, which is true. You can make jokes by what you say. However, words have power. We're taken back to the hospital where Kristen and Ben arrive, and the girls are now chanting the same prayer. I believe it's the same prayer that Andy has been chanting. Andy claims he never shared any of these chants with them. They may have overheard him or picked up on their own, which seems kind of weird. Or maybe they overheard him and then went and looked it up on the internet. Back to Sonia's basement, she talks a little bit about what she experienced during this genocide, which is very, very brutal. Her sister was murdered right in front of her. She was hit on the back of the head and pretended to play dead. But the most horrifying part that stuck with her was the laughing. And as they were laughing, they were making the same jokes that the comedian did about cockroaches. And then we hear this sound in the wall again, and she has the revolver. He says he's sorry. He feels horrible for everything that happened. She forgives him. She thanks him. She tells him that his soul is clean. She even hugs and kisses him. But then she shoots him in the head. When David asks her why did she kill him, he asks for forgiveness. She says she didn't do it for revenge. She did it for justice. She then calls the police and confesses to shooting him. So thankfully, David will be okay and released. And it seems Sonia is ready to deal with whatever legal consequences come from what she did. And then David looks at the wall. We see the cockroach come out of the wall. Oh, that's creepy. Yikes. Back at the courthouse, the judge has ruled to overturn Orson's case, which means he is now a free man. Back at the hospital, Laura appears to be in recovery. The doctor says the heart seems to have healed itself in some way. He even mentions maybe it could be a miracle. We're then taken back to the house and we hear the girls chanting the prayer again. Back at the house, Kristen has made a decision on this trip to Mount Everest and she has decided that she is not going to go. So when Kristen asks Andy about this chant, she asks him, what does it mean? Andy says that it is a type of giving and exchange. What was he giving and exchanging? Well, he asked for Laura to be healed in exchange for his life. Yeah, that's pretty much my reaction. That's a pretty accurate look. And then we hear Leland's voice. We learn that he is talking to his therapist. Kristen really got under his skin. Like, she makes him feel impotent. And he said impotent even though he didn't mean sexually, but he used the word impotent, which is awesome. So let's talk about this. When this happened, I just said, I don't know. It's a demon in the shape of a goat. What does it mean? I am not quite sure. What is the plan? We don't know. But I'd like to hear what you guys think, so please leave a comment below, because I know a lot of people did not like this part of the episode, but I like that every episode has just some type of camp in there, something really hokey that just changes it up a little bit, keeps it a little bit lighter. And I know some people like to keep it dark without any bit of silliness. And I don't think this was meant to be scary. I think this was meant to be bizarre and meant to make people go, what the f? Because no one could actually film this and take it too seriously. We have one episode left. One episode. So we will find out a lot in the finale. I'm really sad that this season is coming to an end. If you're not in our Facebook group, I'll leave a link down below so you can come and join us. We talk about the show so much. We talk about everything, all kinds of theories. So come and join us over there. Follow me on Twitter. I'll be live tweeting the finale, which is going to air in 2 weeks. We have next week off, which is sad. But at least we get one more episode, and hopefully we can find out what the plan is and why there is a horny goat wearing platform shoes talking to Leland. All right, guys, thanks again for watching me. I will see you guys in my finale vlog.